All right, hi everybody, Attorney Steve. Welcome back to Mini Litigation Whiteboard. So I got my mini here with me today. I promise I got my full version coming back just in about a week or two, so stay tuned. But in the meantime, I wanted to talk a little bit about boxing piracy, okay? These are those Johan promotion cases, the J&J Sports cases, the G&G Closed Circuit. Those are kind of the main three that you're going to see in this area. Sometimes you see Zuffa. But I want to talk about boxing piracy. There's my glove up there. There's my restaurant with the little satellite up there. And I just want to talk to you about the damages, okay? Because what will happen a lot of times, you'll get a telephone call. Someone, an attorney, let's say, will say, I want, 40 grand. I want 50 grand because you showed the fight at your restaurant, your bar, your restaurant, or your lounge, or your tavern without a commercial license. You intercepted either a cable signal or a satellite signal. Cable, satellite. Now these are two different sections of the telecommunication laws, the federal telecommunication laws, and they have different damages, but also kind of close and kind of similar. But these are your main companies down here to be aware of, as I have here. But in general, you have the cable. If you're intercepting a cable signal for commercial purposes, that's section 553, okay, of the Telecommunications Act. The satellite is 605. So one of the important questions we always have as boxing piracy defense law firm is, well, did you show the fight via cable, or did you show it via a satellite connection? And that's always one of the big questions. Now, sometimes we have an internet, like a Fire Stick or some other kind of app, a mobile app or something that gets the internet, let's say, off a Wi-Fi connection. I'll talk about that in a second. But let's take a quick look at the statutory scheme. It's very similar to copyright law. If you've seen any of my videos on copyright law, you have either your statutory damages or your actual damages. The plaintiff, if they prevail, are going to be able to pursue either one, whichever one is highest, of course. Now, actual might be something like, say you had a restaurant with 500, like G&G Closed Circuit. I think their limit is 500. They're only licensed to broadcast, last I checked anyway, to 500 people. So say you had 500 people there, you had a cover charge, you had drink premiums, you raised the prices, you had a full house, patrons full occupancy, and you showed it, and you made, let's say, $25,000 that day. They could seek the actual damages. Now, usually that's not very likely. Usually what we see is smaller restaurants, something, especially with COVID now, we see, well, there were 15 people there, or there were 5 people there, or there were, 75 people there. We're at a third capacity, or whatever the case. So a lot of times actual damages is not really going to be the one that these plaintiffs are going to want to pursue. And the same thing happens in copyright law quite frequently. So they're very similar. But however, the plaintiff may also seek statutory damages, okay? And this can depend on whether it's cable or satellite. Satellite's generally more expensive. Why is that under the statute? I have no idea. Couldn't even tell you. But anyway, maybe because it's more expensive to bring to. I'm not quite sure. In general, just to make it short and simple, so this is not a long, confusing video, you're really looking at $250 at a minimum, at the very minimum, but you're hardly going to see that, up to $10,000, okay, up to $10,000. So that's a lot of money. Plus, you could end up paying their attorney fees, okay, their attorney fees and their costs that can add on, okay. Sometimes when I go up against these big firms, what I call big law firms, they'll put 2-3 attorneys on the case, and they can really jack up a settlement just with their attorney fees. So your costs and your attorneys, you got attorney fees, you got to factor that in. But you can go up to $10,000. So assuming, let's just say you're one of those people that say, well, look, I'm just going to take a default. I'm not going to answer. Let them go get a judgment. I don't care. Maybe I'll file bankruptcy. Who cares? But you could get a default up to $10,000, and we've seen a lot of those, especially with like the Zuffa cases. You can see a lot of $10,000 defaults, but that is in general. But there's also they could be $10,000, $15,000 cases, pretty simple. The demands you get may be 20, maybe 30, maybe 40, maybe more. if you have more fights, if you have 2 fights that you showed, or you had 10 TVs, or you had a full crowd, these things can raise the damages. Now, I want you to be aware of another thing. You may say to yourself, well, 10,000, the commercial license was $2,000. Okay, they're usually based on occupancy, so maybe it's $1,500 if you have less than 50 people. Maybe it's $2,000 if you have 100 or more. So you might say to yourself, well, for $2,000 I'll risk it. Who cares if they find me, if they catch me? Oh well, I'll pay the $10,000. But still, you have to be aware of one other thing, which is called enhanced damages. Enhanced damages. Now this can go up to $100,000, at least on the satellite side. Can go up to $100,000. So what happens is, if you end up taking a default, when you do that, you admit to the allegations in the complaint. So if they're alleging that it was willful, if they're alleging that you did it in bad faith, if they're alleging this is the 3rd time they've done it, if they're alleging you had a full house, advertising, cover charges, here we go, Facebook advertising, Instagram advertising, that's a big one, premium drinks, charge, full crowd. Now these are really documented by private investigators, so it could be former police officers or a private investigation company. They come in, they may buy a non-alcoholic beverage, snap some photos, and give a declaration to the attorneys. That's a lot of times what these are based on. But if you don't answer the complaint, you're admitting those allegations. You're admitting what they call well-pled allegations. You're admitting to those. So you have to be careful, because a judge could hit you not only with the 10 and the attorney fees. A judge could say, well, I'm going to add on another 10, 20,000 in enhanced damages if you have some of these factors down here that I have, okay? So that's kind of what you're looking at. In many cases, we can get these settled for a lot less than that. But this is a general overview of boxing piracy damages, why when you get these letters or sometimes phone calls, we know of one attorney in particular, very aggressive. He may call you and say, hey, go borrow the money, get the money, we're gonna sue you, we're gonna go to court, blah, blah, blah. So my recommendation, hang up the phone, don't talk to them, call us, we'll talk to you about damages, what you're looking at, any potential defenses you may have. Now I put down here, there's some talk about ID, internet defense, and that's what we call, I used a mobile app. I used an application to get Wi-Fi. I got the Wi-Fi, and it's an internet. It's not cable. It's not satellite. So how can they get me under these statutes? Well, one thing they do in those cases is you may be looking at copyright infringement as the cause of action instead of the telecom law. So, it can get kind of confusing. Copyright infringement damages can go up to $150,000 for willful infringement, $30,000 to $150,000. So that can be, again, you could be looking at a lot of money. So you got to look at that. But there are some cases and some jurisdictions that do kind of recognize, or have recognized, I should say, the so-called internet defense. But you need to look. You need to see what jurisdiction you're in. You take a look at all that. But also, I put one more thing down here: streaming. There's a new internet streaming piracy law that basically criminalizes internet streaming of protected content. So, but that's a general overview. Don't let them knock you out. Don't let them take your business down. We can help you if you need help with any of these cases right here. Johan, G&G Closed Circuit, J&J Sports, or others. There's other cases. We do Dish Niagara Star. There could be some other IPTV cases. But this is a general overview. This is not legal information. If you need some help, you can find us on the web at attorneysteve.com. That's attorneysteve.com, the first name in legal services. Hope you guys are having a great week. I'm going to have, again, stay tuned. Make sure you bookmark this, subscribe. I'm going to have some great videos coming on the full whiteboard coming to you soon. Okay, have a great day. Bye now.